It's NightSide with Dan Rea on WBZ, Boston's News Radio.
Thanks very much, Dan Watkins. As we move into our second hour here on a Tuesday night, I'm going to introduce you to a group of people kind of in shifts this hour, because we have a story that's at its root simple, but a little complicated. At the root is how we treat a refugee who has come to this country. His name is Abdul. We're only going to use his first name. He has come here with his wife and 5 children. He was a U.S. military interpreter. He was embedded with U.S. military troops, actually was wounded, also in a separate incident, lost his leg in Afghanistan. And he came here. His family spent some time with his sister in the community of Beverly. But because there were so many people involved, he was told, and his sister was told, that many people could not stay in her apartment. Enter a caller to this program named Brendan Zubricki, Brendan Zubricki, who we've talked to on several occasions, who heard through his wife. Brendan happens to be Christian. He heard through his wife about an effort by a temple in Beverly, Temple B'nai Abraham, and we're also joined by Rabbi Alison Adler. So let me try to simplify this and start off with Brendan first, because you were my first contact on this. Brendan, welcome to NightSide. Tell us what you and your wife did when you learned that the temple in Beverly needed to house this family in April.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. My wife heard about it in passing through a group that she was associated with, and found out that this family was really in dire straits because they had to vacate the sister's apartment, and if they didn't, the sister was going to be evicted. So the temple had already been involved at that point in time because Abdul reached out to the temple, and they were able to put the family up in an Airbnb for a short amount of time, but they were really trying to go and find somebody that would take them in. And we decided that we would do that because, the kids were in school. The school year is finished now, but it was important to try to give them some stability. I'm from a large family. I'm from 8 kids. My wife is from 4 kids. And really, it's not for everyone to take in 7 people, but it worked for us. We had a heart for it. And for about a month, a little less than a month, they were with us. We've gotten a bit of a breather. There's another host family that has them right now. And if we don't solve the housing issue fairly soon, the family will come back with us until we can solve it. So that's kind of our
understanding. Let me check with Rabbi Adler here. Rabbi Adler, my understanding is that the host family that has taken in Abdul's family are members of your congregation, and they live in Swampscott?
Yes, that is true.
So you have provided with your congregation shelter for these individuals, but like anything else, it's one thing to help someone on a temporary basis. How long will they be able to stay with the family in Swampscott? What sort of a deadline are we looking at?
Well, we were really looking at maybe another week at the most that they're able to stay with that family. So we have an incredible group of volunteers who have been helping Abdul and his family in many different ways with all kinds of details of trying to get adjusted to being here, in addition to looking for housing. And so, and we're working also with some amazing agencies in the area who have a lot of families that they're working with. So, synagogues and churches and mosques have been stepping in across the country really to help families in this kind of situation. But we really, around here, there really is a housing crisis. It's just very hard for anybody to find housing around here, let alone a family of 7.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Well, I think what's lovely about the story is that this is a fellow who, on his end, helped protect as an interpreter our men and women in Afghanistan. He was able to escape Afghanistan before the Taliban took over. We're only using his first name because we don't want to give the Taliban or as supporters any idea of exactly who he is, because revenge can be taken against his family members back in Afghanistan. He did get what's called an SIV, a Special Immigrant Visa. I believe that Congressman Moulton's office has been helpful in that regard. They were relocated to several refugee camps. I know at least one was in Kosovo, if I'm not mistaken, and they were able to get here. So they're here. They're in Qatar, Kosovo, and Albania. And the beauty of this story is that this is a Muslim family who's being helped by, in Brendan's case, a Christian husband and wife and Christian family, and a Jewish temple, which really is when you think of it, a wonderful story. And what we have to do now, I guess, is try to generate some funds so they can live independently. And there is a GoFundMe page in effect, which I'm going to mention several times later on during the hour. And is there a specific amount of money that you folks hope to raise for them so they can kind of get out there on their own? What's
Dan,
the goal?
I think the GoFundMe page right now says $25,000. I've been looking at that, and really, I think it would be great to raise $50,000, and that would allow a family to get an apartment that was large enough at a market rate. They've been trying everything they have been able to do to look at subsidized housing, government housing, private affordable housing, and really, as the rabbi stated, a family of this size, it's very difficult. They actually had a lead on some public housing in another community, but once the folks there determined that it was such a large family, they said, we can't accommodate that. They have certain rules and standards. But anyway, $50,000 market rate for a family of this size will hopefully get them a year's rent and hopefully some money toward a used vehicle. Abdul is working, and in fact, the plan would be that he would contribute some money toward the rent, and then hopefully over a year's time, he can get on his feet, the family can get on their feet, and they can be self-sufficient.
All right. When we get back, we're going to incorporate Abdul in the conversation. Rob, we can get Abdul in here, and I can hold Brendan and Rabbi Adler. We won't worry about phone calls until later. Fair enough, Rob? Is that okay? Okay, we'll do that. I'm going to ask both of you to stay, Brendan Zubricki and Rabbi Alison Adler, and we will incorporate Abdul into the conversation. And no calls for now, folks, but we will encourage some calls later on. I'm also going to ask people if they would consider it to make a contribution to help this family, because the interpreters to the U.S. forces, both in Iraq and Afghanistan, were sometimes critical, and this guy has sacrificed a lot, and maybe somehow we can at least help him somewhat. My name's Dan Rea. This is NightSide. Don't worry about the phone calls for now. We will get Abdul with us in a moment, and then we will get to some phone calls later on this hour. But I want you to hear the story in its entirety. Back on NightSide after this.
It's NightSide with Dan Rea on WBZ, Boston's News Radio.
We're talking about a family who has emigrated here from Afghanistan through some very difficult circumstances, and the father of that family, husband and father of five, Abdul, joins us now. Abdul, welcome to NightSide. How are you, sir?
Thank you, great, Ray. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. While you were in Afghanistan and a member of the Afghani military, you were embedded with U.S. soldiers. My understanding is that at one point you were shot and wounded, and then at another point you actually lost a leg to an IED?
Yes, that's true. Yep.
And how long did it take you to get from Afghanistan to here in Massachusetts to Beverly? I know you arrived in February, but how long was that journey, and where did you have to stop along the way?
I was evacuated from Afghanistan on 23rd April 2022. Then from Afghanistan, I was evacuated to Qatar, and I was there for Qatar for 2 months. From then I was brought to Kosovo, Camp Bonsdale. I was there from April 18 April 2023. So it took almost 1 year to reach here from Afghanistan.
Okay, and there was a while after the Taliban took over in August of 2021 that you were still in Afghanistan, correct?
Yes, I was in Afghanistan.
That must have been a terrifying period of time for you and your family.
It was, yeah, yes. I was just changing my place. I was just hiding, I just tried to save myself. So, yeah, it was very terrifying.
You have sacrificed a lot for the United States, and obviously we owe you a debt of gratitude as a nation. But there's not much that is here to help you, even though you were embedded with U.S. forces and an interpreter. You come here and you did get a special immigrant visa, but there's not much financial support that our government provides you and your family as you try to establish yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's no financial support that comes.
There is no financial support. Eventually, the volunteers from the Temple of Bani Abraham, so they are just helping me with the transportation, right. and some of the family from Swampscott, Tom and Susie, and I have been with Brendan and Joe from Gloucester. I was with them. They are the only people who are supporting me throughout the past 4 months since I came to state. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your family. You and your wife have been married for several years, obviously. How many years have you been married, and how many children? You have 5 children. What are their ages?
Yeah, we were married in 2010. So I have a boy who's 10 years old, then a girl 8, and then boy 5, and a girl 3. And boy is a baby, he got 1 year old on June 15th, 5 days ago.
Yeah. Now, when you moved here from Beverly, were you able to get them into a public school system for the balance of the academic year, or no?
Yeah, for the children?
When you got here and you moved in, I believe, with your sister in February. Were they able to go to public schools in Beverly at least, the older children?
Yeah, they are going to go. Actually, the North Elementary School of the Beverly, so they have been very incredible. They give transportation all the way to Gloucester, from Gloucester to Swampscott. Yeah, they are going to school since they came here. Okay.
There is this GoFundMe page. This is critical. How can you survive here without support from wonderful people? I mean, Rabbi Adler and her congregation, Brendan Zubricki and his wife, the family you're with now in Swampscott. We need to broaden that base of support, and that's what I hope we're going to be able to do tonight. I hope that you might be able to stick with us for the balance of the hour, Abdul. And maybe we'll take some phone calls. Rabbi Adler, since you're still there, I just want to ask you, have any of the other churches in the Beverly area or on the North Shore, have they joined with you? It seems to me this would be a great ecumenical effort for all of the churches, Protestant, Catholic, Jewish temples, synagogues, mosques. Is there any outreach from the other religious affiliations?
We've certainly been using that network, interfaith networks that we have around here for trying to find housing. And some of the ministers have been, in Beverly in particular, have been involved in trying to find something, not necessarily successfully, but and I think some of them will get a little more involved too. there's some things that need to be done now, and then there's going to be more. There are more volunteer opportunities, I think, as this continues on. So you're right. It is a great opportunity for us to come together.
The reason I asked that is that when Brendan talked about the amount of money that he hoped to raise, or the GoFundMe hopes to raise, they're talking about $50,000, which sounds like an enormous amount of money on the one hand, but there are people out there who could help, and we just did last hour on this submersive vehicle that appears it might be lost in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, and people paid $250,000 to ride this vehicle down to the floor of the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm just hoping there might be some guardian angels out there tonight who would support and contribute this. Brendan, the GoFundMe page, who is in charge of holding the funds for Abdul? Is that through a bank, through a law office? Who's the depository on that?
Someone else from the temple set that up, and Rabbi, I don't know how that is set within your temple. Is it something that the temple supports, or I'm not sure exactly how that went. Yep. Okay.
We set up a refugee support fund, and so to help Abdul and his family, but also possibly to help future families. So any money that goes into that fund that isn't used for this family will go to this cause.
And I'm going to just give the GoFundMe. I certainly give it a few times, but it's all one word, GoFundMe.com, and then it's / and it's TBA, which stands for Temple B'nai Abraham, TBA Refugees. And I'm hoping that even as this hour is going on, that people could find themselves, to go to the GoFundMe page and make a commitment. GoFundMe.com/TBA, which stands for Temple B'nai Abraham, Refugees, REFUGEES. Pretty easy to find. We're going to take a break. I believe we might hear from Congressman Seth Moulton on the other side of the break. What I'd like to do, Rabbi, if it's okay with you, you got some other things to do. I'm going to let you off the hook for now. We may call you back during the next half hour, but I got to free up a couple of phone lines here, okay? So
okay.
I wish you would continue to listen. Thank you for what you and your congregation are doing. Brendan, why don't you stay with us? Abdul, stay with us. We may call you back, Rabbi, between now and 10 o'clock, and let's see what we can do.
I'll be here. I'll be listening.
Okay. That'd be great. So you guys stay. Congressman Seth Moulton has just called us, and we will be joined by him on the other side of the 9:30 news, which is coming at us right now.
It's NightSide with Dan Rea on WBZ, Boston's News Radio.
We are talking about an American hero, Abdul, who was a military interpreter in Afghanistan, helping protect U.S. service personnel on the ground. He was lost his leg to an IED explosion in Afghanistan. Joining us now is Congressman Seth Moulton, who represents the northeast corner of the district, the state, I should say. Himself a veteran of Iraq and Afghanistan, and who has been very, very involved in trying to get these military interpreters home here to their adopted home safely. Congressman Moulton, welcome back to NightSide.
Dan, always good to be on with you. And just to be fair here, I'm a veteran of Iraq, not of Afghanistan.
Fair enough. That's okay.
I don't want to take any more credit than I'm due. But you do a lot of credit as somebody who went over there, and I believe you had more than one tour, and you sacrificed.
Look,
I did 4 tours. But
4 tours.
I wasn't a big proponent of the war. In fact, I was quite critical of it at times. But I was very proud to serve. I was very proud to go over there, and I was very proud to serve alongside real heroes like Abdul, who risked their lives not just for their country, not just for Afghanistan, before the United States of America.
And for members of the military like yourself, you worked with interpreters because we've talked about that before. And those interpreters sometimes were lifesavers.
Well, look, we didn't just work with them; we depended on them for our lives. I mean, there were so many times when I was in a situation that I didn't understand, I didn't know what might happen, and I turned to the interpreter who was from there, who understood the culture, who understood in many ways the enemy much better than we did, and said, "This is what you need to do."
Yeah. Well, we've got this GoFundMe page. We talked in the last hour. We've been talking with Brendan Zabricki, who I believe you know is involved in this, Rabbi Alison Adler of the B'nai Abraham congregation, and also with Abdul. Abdul, say hi to Congressman Moulton. I assume you've met before. Go right ahead, Abdul.
Hey, hi, Congressman.
It's an honor to be on with you, and I, my team has been working hard on this case, and we're proud to do whatever we can to help. I mean, I regret that we don't have a long-term solution yet, but you should know that there are a lot of Americans, veterans in the district, but also non-veterans who just believe in you and what your family has done, the sacrifices you've made for our country, and we're proud to help you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
Congressman, how many interpreters from Afghanistan and or Iraq do we have safely in the country, if we know? And what is the potential that we have of people? I know it's difficult to certify their service. Just give us a quick sense of how large an issue we're dealing with here. I know that you're in the midst of it.
Yeah. Well, the number that you need to know is that there are over 150,000 Afghan Special Immigrant Visa applicants who are trying to escape Afghanistan today. That means there are 150,000 heroes like Abdul who we promised, we've got your back if we lose Afghanistan. We've got your back if you need help because you're risking your life for us. There are 150,000 of them stuck in Afghanistan being hunted down by the Taliban every single day because we still haven't gotten them out.
And last question, because I know that you're crushed on time as well. Last question. What is Congress doing, or what can Congress do, Republicans and Democrats alike, to make sure that families like Abdul's don't have to rely upon the generosity of a temple in Beverly, the generosity of Brendan Zabricki's family, or for that matter, a GoFundMe page?
Well, the most important thing we can do right now is pass a bill that has been written and proposed and has been out there for a couple of years now called the Afghan Adjustment Act that basically just allows Abdul and his family and others like him to access the resources that we make available to other refugees and become citizens of the United States so that they can work here, so that they can pay taxes like the rest of us, so that they can become fully integrated into our society like they want to do. And this bill, the Afghan Adjustment Act, has been put forward by veterans on both sides of the aisle, Republicans and Democrats coming together, doing the right thing for the people that we served with. The problem is that it's opposed by conservative Republicans who just are opposed to any immigration. I mean, these are mostly people who've never served their country. They don't know people like Abdul. They don't know what this sacrifice is all about. But they're just reflexively opposed to any immigration, and as a result, we haven't gotten this passed.
I said last question. Where is Speaker McCarthy on this? Is he not willing to take on the...
Not willing to take it on.
Fair enough.
Not willing to take it on. And I mean, I know him well enough to believe that he probably understands this is important, but he's not willing to take it on. He's not willing to take it up. And that's been the problem. And I mean, look, this didn't get passed under Speaker Pelosi either, but it's mainly the conservative Republican opposition, both in the House and the Senate. Because, of course, we can get it out of the House, but if it doesn't get passed by the Senate, then it doesn't do any good. It doesn't become law. So that's the problem right now. It's representative of the broader immigration crisis that we have in our country that Congress just hasn't found the political courage to solve.
Well, this
when
is
you
one
see
piece.
A family like Abdul's, I mean, this just really comes home.
This is one piece that is completely solvable.
Totally solvable. Absolutely,
in my opinion. Congressman, thanks very much for your efforts on this. Thanks very much for joining us tonight, and we'll carry on with this. And if there's anything else that we can do, please let us know. Okay.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for bringing attention to this issue.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Now, what I'd like to do is give this GoFundMe page another plug. I also want to thank, just a few minutes ago, Matthew Bowen contributed $100. And that's the most recent contribution. I'm going to ask as many of my listeners as possible, if you are familiar with a GoFundMe, it's an absolutely legitimate way in which we can support someone. You just go to simply on your computer, gofundme.com/TBA refugees. I know that we never have done this before, but as Congressman Moulton said, this is something that everyone should be able to get behind. So what I would like to do in the next 20 minutes or so is give you an opportunity to say thanks to this one family. They need some financial support to basically land on their feet. And there is a GoFundMe page that is being run through Temple B'nai Abraham. We're certainly convinced of the legitimacy of it. The money will go to benefit this family. If there is additional money left over, you can be sure that the temple will make sure that it goes to other refugees in need. Again, it's gofundme.com/TBA refugees, all one word, TBA refugees, which stands for Temple B'nai Abraham. Temple B'nai Abraham, which is in charge of this effort. Abdul, how much will this mean to you and your family if somehow in the next few days or the next couple of weeks this GoFundMe page can reach an amount of money that will allow you to get on your feet financially? You're working now, correct, as I understand it? Is Abdul still there? We lost Abdul? Abdul,
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes, Abdul. What sort of work do you do?
I work one of the company in Denver.
What type of work are you engaged in?
I'm working material handling job here.
My understanding that you're good with computers. Is that what I understand? As I think Brendan had told me, you're working with a computer type company.
Yeah, I'm working with the computers, making work orders and all the material handling things. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so you're here. You're on the path to citizenship, as I understand it, because you have the immigrant, the special, I think it's called SIV, Special Immigrant Visa. Will that provide citizenship not only for yourself but for your wife and your children as well, I hope?
Yes, I have my green card, and after 5 years, I will become a U.S. citizen.
Excellent. Okay. We're going to take a break. And Brendan, I know you're still there. Maybe
yes.
We can have Rob reach back to Rabbi Adler on the other side. I'd like to get some phone calls, so I'm going to invite people to call in at 617-254-1030, 617-254-1030, and whether you can contribute or not, I'd very much appreciate if you could at least voice your support. If you can contribute, I'd love to see you make a contribution to gofundme.com/TBA refugees. And this, again, is an effort that has been supported by Congressman Seth Moulton, as you heard, by Temple B'nai Abraham. as well as individuals like Brendan Zaricki and his wife, to try to get this family back on their feet financially. They came here with nothing, and they are on a path to citizenship. Abdul, his wife, and 5 children, and Abdul lost a leg to an IED, improvised explosive device, in Afghanistan while on patrol helping protect U.S. service personnel who were in Afghanistan. And as Congressman Moulton said, the so-called, they're interpreters, but they were the eyes and ears of the U.S. forces on the ground. Many lost their lives. Others, like Abdul, sacrificed greatly to protect men and women from this country. So if you can, I'd love to see some contributions, and I'd love to have some phone calls. And we're going to change
And Dan, just one quick thing.
Yes,
one quick
sure.
thing. The one thing that we're also going to be looking for, hopefully we raise the money, but we're going to be looking for people who have apartments that are large enough who are willing to rent out to a family of 7. It's not an easy thing to find, and so that's an important aspect of the situation as well.
Yeah, I think you're talking about realistically an apartment which would have 3 bedrooms. I mean, that's the only way you could.
Yes.
You have 5 children.
Yes.
You got different needs for a family of that size. So we'll take a break.
Yes.
I want to thank Linda Godspeed, who just donated $100. Linda, thank you. Linda Goodspeed, excuse me. Linda, thank you very much. That's wonderful on your part. We so appreciate it, and I hope that there'll be some more contributions. I hope some of you might feel you'd like to call and just thank Abdul for the sacrifice that he made in the defense of his country, but also in the defense of our U.S. military personnel on the ground. 617-254-1030 is the phone number. You can reach us at 617-254-1030 and say hello to Abdul and welcome him here. Or you can go ahead and make a contribution to GoFundMe.com/TBA Refugees. Back on NightSide with Dan Rea right after this.
You're on NightSide with Dan Rea on WBZ, Boston's News Radio.
We've just had several more donations come in. I want to thank Christopher Frost, who donated $100. I want to thank Sarah Kostashak, who donated $50. I want to thank Caitlin Bowen, who donated $50, and I want to very much thank Bonnie Glenn, who has just donated $500. So we have raised in this the last few minutes close to $1,000 for the TBA website, GoFundMe.com/TBA Refugees. Let me go to Kate Milton. Kate, thanks for calling in. You were on with everyone: Brendan's Zabricki, Rabbi, Alison, Adler, and Abdul. Go ahead, Kate.
Thank you, Jan. I hope this helps. The Irish Pastoral Center and Gallivan Boulevard, right next to your friends at College Hype. They do this. It's a community resource organization for immigrants of all kinds. And I can give you the number.
Why don't you give the number to Rob, and I'll pass that on to Brendan Zabricki tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll give him the name of the...
Yeah, I'm familiar with the Irish Pastoral Center, Kate, and they do great work. And if they could add some support here, that would be wonderful as well. So thanks for your kind words. If you'd like to say hello to Abdul, he's listening. Go ahead, Kate. Nope, no, she's talking to Rob. Okay, we'll let that go. Rabbi Adler, you're back with us, I believe, correct?
Yeah, yes, I am. Hi.
Yeah. In the hour or so we're here, we've picked up, looks to me like about $800 or $900. So we're making some progress here. If folks would like to make a quick contribution before the end of the hour, I'm sure that I know I'd appreciate it. I think that everyone else would. The website is gofundme.com/TBA refugees. Rabbi, thank you so much for what you and your congregation have done, and I wish you the best of luck. This has to be a major project for a congregation at any time. Tell us about it.
Well, we have an incredible core group of volunteers who are working every day, whether they're driving Abdul to work or, helping with all kinds of paperwork, applying for things. They're going above and beyond, doing so much. And I think part of it is, when I first met Abdul and his sister and brother-in-law, I just, felt a connection and then I met his kids and fell in love with them. So you really want to help when you really know people. There's a saying, and there's a teaching in Judaism that saving one life is like saving a universe. Yep. That the one life. We're seeing it right now because you're doing a story about this. We're talking about this one family, but we're also talking about so many families. And you're just moved when you get to know them to want to help and want to support them.
Yeah, well,
and I would agree with that, Dan. We fell in love with them too, and they're probably going to be coming back. And I also wanted to mention that we have a whole network of folks up in the Cape Ann area, the Christian community as well, that has rallied around us to support us as a family, but also donated things to Abdul and his family. And really, it's everyone's working together to try to help. I also wanted to mention while I'm speaking that Abdul had his own house and everything in Afghanistan, and they got out in time, thankfully, with their lives. But the Taliban took over the land and burned down the house. And so it's just quite a shock. This family has just been thrust into quite a situation.
Yeah, I totally understand that, and we've had some more contributions that have just come in. Bruce Dyke has made a contribution of $250, and Abdul, I'm going to match. Bonnie Glenn's was the biggest contribution so far, $500. I can't thank you enough for being here, and I will match that. And Brendan, I will send you a check tomorrow. We can talk in the morning, and I will send you a check tomorrow that you can get directly to them.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Bonnie, for.
Can I mention one more? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sure,
go ahead, Abdul.
Go ahead.
No, I just thank you very much. And can I? Okay.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Brendan. Stay right there. Go ahead, Rabbi.
Yeah, Rabbi.
I just want to mention. Hi, Abdul. I just want to mention that we've worked also very closely with the organizations around here. We know how hard they work. One in particular in Lynn, the New American Association of Massachusetts, has been working with this family, and they're working with so many families. And so I just want to note that we are using other resources in our community who are also helping us navigate all of this.
All right, and I have three more contributions just come in, and I want to acknowledge them. Mark Duggan contributed $100. David Carnavale has contributed $100, and Tom Cheatham has contributed $100. And we, I think, have raised just about a couple $1,000 among some NightSide listeners in the last 30 minutes. So I want to thank all of them. And Brendan, I'll be in contact with you tomorrow. Rabbi, thank you very much. Say a prayer for me and my family. And Abdul, hope to meet you someday.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, everybody. Congratulations, and we will continue on. We'll keep this going later on tonight. Thank you, everybody. Here comes the 10 o'clock news. We'll be back on the other side.